Imagine never dragging a heavy, expensive water filter into the woods again. You can purify deadly, contaminated water using nothing but a freshly cut pine branch from the nearest tree. You will master 7 low-tech filtration systems using biochar, pine branches, and seeds to turn muddy water crystal clear. When you buy a commercial water filter, you are buying into another global supply chain. You are one cracked plastic housing or one clogged proprietary cartridge away from vulnerability. If that plastic pump breaks in a crisis, you are left stranded. True biological independence means knowing how to command the raw plant life and soil chemistry around you. It is about transforming muddy, pathogen-filled swamp water into clean, life-saving drinking water using nothing but basic physics and raw biology. To build our first system, you only need a pocket knife, a plastic bottle cut in half, and a fresh branch from a pine tree. Cut a piece of pine branch about 1 inch thick and 2 inches long. Carefully peel the bark off this wooden plug. Now wedge this bare wood disc tightly into the neck of your cut plastic bottle. Make sure the fit is incredibly snug so water cannot bypass the sides. Pour your dirty water right on top of the wood and watch. Drop by drop, clean water will begin to drip out of the bottom. This works because of how evergreen trees are built. Inside the pine branch, millions of microscopic drinking straws, called Xylem tissue, are bundled tightly together to carry water from the roots to the needles. There is a specific reason why you must only use evergreen branches for this trick. Using the wrong tree's wood can let deadly bacteria straight through, and we'll show you why. The wood of non-flowering evergreen trees contains microscopic valves called pit membranes that are typically 20 to 100 nanometers wide. These membranes act like microscopic screen doors. They let water molecules pass through easily, but they physically block and trap bacteria, filtering out over 99.9% of pathogens. This simple pine plug works at a rate of 1 liter of clean water every single hour. Best of all, you can dry these handmade wood filters out and store them on a shelf for up to 2 years. They will still work perfectly when you need them. For our second system, we look to a fast-growing tropical tree known as the drumstick tree, or Moringa. If you have muddy, turbid water, you can clear it in under an hour using just 3 dry Moringa seeds. Shell the seeds, crush them into a fine powder, and mix that powder with 1 cup of clean water to make a smooth paste. Pour this paste into 1 gallon of muddy water. Stir the bucket rapidly for 60 seconds. Then stir it very slowly and gently for 3,000 seconds before letting it sit. Within just about 50 minutes, the mud will settle. This process is called coagulation, and it is like throwing a magnetic net into the water. Moringa seeds contain positively charged cationic proteins. These proteins act like tiny magnets, locking on to negatively charged mud, clay, and microplastics. They bind them into fluffy clumps called flocks that quickly sink to the bottom. As the World Health Organization guidelines on water quality note, for drinking water treatment, Moringa seed powder can be used as a quick, low-cost coagulant at the household level to reduce turbidity before subsequent disinfection. This method strips out more than 98% of microplastics. However, remember the failure warning. While this clears the dirt and typically removes 90% to 99% of pathogens, you cannot store this treated water long-term, or it will spoil. Drink it quickly or run it through a secondary filter. To build a permanent, heavy-duty filtration station, you need a 3-tier gravity tower. You can stack 3 buckets or cut plastic bottles vertically. Fill the top container with fine gravel to catch large debris. Fill the middle container with a 15 to 30 centimeter filter bed of crushed biochar ground down to a particle size of 0.5 to 2 millimeters. Fill the bottom container with sand. This system uses 3 separate natural forces: physical straining in the sand, biological predation in the biofilm layer, and chemical adsorption within the biochar. The sand physically blocks dirt, but it works best once you let it run for a few days. Over time, a living, slimy biological layer of beneficial microbes, called a schmutzdeck, will grow on top of the sand. And while most people think a clean sand filter is a safe filter, the real magic happens when you let a thick layer of living slime grow on top of it. This slime layer acts like microscopic guard dogs, hunting down and eating harmful bacteria like E. coli. Beneath the sand, the biochar goes to work. Biochar is wood baked at high heat in a sealed container under low oxygen pyrolysis. This process leaves the coal packed with millions of microscopic pockets. It chemically traps toxins, heavy metals, and odors through adsorption, holding onto chemicals like static cling holds lint to clothes. Run your water through at a steady drip of 1 to 2.5 liters per hour for optimal safety. You can manufacture a professional-grade sterile water filter using raw clay and sawdust. Mix local clay with dry sawdust in a 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 ratio by volume. Add water, shape the mixture into a thick pot, and let it dry completely before firing it in a hot kiln or campfire. During the firing process, the trapped sawdust completely burns away. This leaves behind a network of microscopic holes, measuring 0.2 to 2 microns across. These micropores act as physical walls. Water can slowly seep through the clay walls and drip into a collection jar, but dangerous, hard-shelled parasites and stomach illness-causing cysts are physically blocked. In fact, pots with a 600-micron pore size can eliminate E. coli completely. If you like seeing how we expose and rebuild these natural systems, join the escape. We break one industrial dependency every single week. If your water source is poisoned with industrial chemical runoff or heavy metals, simple sand and charcoal are not enough. You need living plants. Take a standard plastic utility bucket and fill it with your contaminated water. Place 100 grams of floating water hyacinth plants on the surface, letting their dense, dark roots hang down into the liquid. Water hyacinths are biological vacuum cleaners. Through a process called hyperaccumulation, their roots act as a living chemical filter, actively pulling toxic metals like lead, mercury, copper, and arsenic straight out of the water. In just 30 days, this floating weed can achieve metal removal efficiencies of 59% to 92%. Once the cycle is complete, carefully discard the contaminated plants away from your garden so the absorbed toxins do not cycle back into your soil. Once your water is clear of sediment, you must destroy any remaining invisible viruses. You can do this with zero fuel or electricity using standard clear plastic drink bottles. Fill clean, transparent 1 to 2 liter PET plastic bottles with low cloudiness water. Make sure the water depth inside the bottle is under 10 centimeters so the light can penetrate fully. Lay the bottles completely flat on a corrugated metal roof under direct sunlight. Leave the bottles in the sun for at least 6 hours. The sun's ultraviolet rays act like natural lasers, passing through the plastic and scrambling the DNA of any remaining pathogens so they cannot reproduce. At the same time, the metal roof heats the water, accelerating the sterilization. Rainwater and wild springs can often be highly acidic and corrosive. To balance this, run your water through a bed of crushed calcium carbonate limestone. The limestone acts like a giant antacid tablet. It buffers the water, raising the pH to a safe alkaline range. This chemical shift forces dissolved metals like lead and iron to turn back into solid flakes and sink to the bottom, making your water sweet, balanced, and safe for your pipes and your body. And by simply tossing 10 grams of thin copper wire mesh into your storage container, the metal literally rips apart the cell walls of any bacteria, keeping your water sterile for zero effort. This copper surface acts like a chemical electric fence, keeping your water safe for 4 to 12 hours without a single drop of chlorine. Now that you have pure water, you need a food system that runs on autopilot. Click here to see how we build a zero-cost, self-feeding garden. Start tomorrow by finding a local pine branch. We break one dependency every single week on this channel. Join the escape and subscribe now. If you liked this, 5 ways to store a fresh harvest without modern equipment, that's the next one.